Hello, I'm going to talk about the Update 46 coming up in June of 2025 and a lot of the changes that they're doing and what I think is going to be different about trial groups going forward once that update has been applied to the game, um, essentially with the subclassing and what builds are going to be gaining and what they're going to be losing. Uh, so I'm going to get into it right away here. I'm on my Arcanist healer, but just as an overall kind of general explanation, for DPS, for example, they're going to keep the Herald of the Tome skill line because that is the damaging skill line on the Arcanist. But they're going to replace these other two uh, skill lines from the Arcanist with other damaging skill lines from other classes. Now, the popular build right now that's on the PTS in week one is to use Herald of the Tome with the Gravelords from Necromancer and the Assassin skill line from the Nightblade. So let's just take a quick look at what passives you're going to lose from dropping these and replacing them with those other two DPS skill lines. Um, this one here is an armor buff, which you have to use a Soldier of Apocrypha skill in order to benefit from that. You get recoveries while a skill is slotted. You give minor evasion to your entire group just from casting an ability, and then you get a Crux ultimate passive here when you consume a Crux. So you're going to drop off an ultimate regen right there. So you're gaining, you're losing tankiness from the minor evasion there, as well as uh, the armor. If you have now generally the DPS and trials don't have any of these slotted, unless they get asked to use like Rune of the Colorless Pool or something like that. But there is the minor evasion tankiness there that helps with area of effect damage. But a little bit more important is in the healer skill line here. When your cruxes are up, you get healing increased. So your flail that you use to build cruxes on your DPS, this is going to lose what's going to become 12% more healing because they're increasing this 3% up to a 4% currently. Who knows if they're going to change that? This is as of week one in the PTS. So that could be different. Who knows? You also get restoration here when you generate a crux. Um, this is also being changed to grant both magic and stamina, not either or. Here's a big one. You passively get an increase in recovery of 18%. You don't have to have a skill slotted. This is a true passive, and so is this. This is also a true passive. And then this is the only one where you have to have a skill slotted where you get increased damage shield size. So if I suppose if you had Xena's empowering discs applied to your current Arcanist build, then you might take advantage of that. But mainly, what you're losing is tankiness as well as recoveries. So that's a lot of recoveries that you're losing, in my opinion, to a build that may be getting overlooked here at this time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about a couple of sets that I feel may become options, may not be used in top tier score pushing runs, but might be a good idea to include for uh, just not super top tier teams, but you know it's a lot easier if you provide recoveries and resistances to keep everybody alive so that you don't have to stop and res people. It makes it a lot better to hit a barrier instead of a warhorn. To keep people alive during phases, the damage loss when people die is huge. So just keep that in mind. It's sometimes better just to go a little bit more tanky and provide resources and all that, so they can keep attacking and casting spells. So one of the sets I've been looking at is this Mighty Glacier set. Now what does it do? You put this on your build, and whenever you activate a snare, you give your entire group, and I've tested the distance on this, it seems to be right about 28 meters or so. So it's got a pretty big space limit there. Um, but it's very easy to keep this uptime. So the Warden healers are kind of not going to have that uh, tank skill line anymore to use the major resolve to give your entire team, because it's going to be more optimal to choose those skill lines to get a really beefy build for healer or tank or DPS. So if everybody's taking advantage of subclassing and really juicing up their heals, their all of that, then a couple of things that are not present anymore are going to need to be looked at. And one of this is major resolve for the entire group. If you lose this, or if you've ever been in a run when there's not been a Warden healer, there's quite a big noticeable difference in how often your teammates are dying. This can make a massive difference in whether or not you can keep everybody alive, or if you're constantly having to stop and pick people up. So this is one of the options I would recommend considering putting on a tank. The reason why that I'm suggesting this is because tank sets are going to be a lot less uh, traditional from what they have been. For example, when everybody gets into their DPS builds, the penetration that they're going to be running on the Arcanist, Gravelord, Necromancer, and Assassin from Nightblade skill line, they're going to be running at about 9,000 penetration, just not even building into penetration, because the Herald of the Tome skill line here has this skill right here that is currently at 991 per. It's going to get buffed up to about 1275 or so, just about 1300 per skill slotted. Now the Gravelord skill line is also getting a buff to their penetration on the DPS skill line. And so when you get everything stacked on, and you're wearing the Velothi Mage's Amulet, and you get your one piece of light armor, and you also go here into the champion tree, and you've got your piercing here for 700, the DPS are going to be sitting at about 9,000 penetration. So the need for armor debuffing sets such as Alkosh, Tremor Scale, even Crimson Oath, which I use a lot right now, they are absolutely going to be completely obsolete and not necessary at all. Because once you add Major Resolve, Minor Resolve, you're just about at armor cap right there, and all you really need is to tip it over the scale there is an infused crusher, or if you have an Arcanist tank skill line using Runic Sunder, you're over the pen cap easily on virtually everyone in the group that's a DPS. It's just not going to be necessary. So one of the tank sets that I'm looking at adding to a trials group there is going to be from Frostvault, and all you have to do to proc this, by the way, to proc the Major Resolve, you're looking at that snare and immobilization ability. Well, it's very simple. You go on your back bar with a Frost Staff, and you lay down Wall of Elements, and this skill right here will proc it very easily, and you can keep this up 100% uptime very simply for something that you're going to be doing anyway. Okay, so that covers the resistance loss. Now what's the other big thing that I'm looking at is recoveries. So if you look in trial sets, The number one recovery set in the game is without a doubt Perfected Stonetalker's Oath. Now you can easily put this on a tank as well, and all they would have to do is heavy attack one time every 10 seconds. And that places a bomb on the enemy. And then, as you can see, as long as your teammates are within 16 meters of the enemy, they will get back 2,240 recoveries. That can happen once every 10 seconds. So if you equate that to recoveries tick every 2 seconds. So essentially, that's going to be equivalent to 448 recoveries. And so that's going to be a massive help for your group. Now, in addition to this, I'm also I'm going to start looking at using the Perfected Kynes Wind set out of Kynes Aegis. They are also updating this for update 46, so that is going to be a much easier proc condition. Right now, you can apply a major buff to yourself to proc this by drinking a potion or using an ability or a poison. So what it's going to do going forward is just an overheal. So just to give you an idea how big this is, I will proc the set now. There it is right there. And it lasts for 4 seconds. And it gives a massive amount of recoveries for 4 seconds. It gives 420 magicka and stamina recoveries for 4 seconds. And this can be procced once every 10. So when the update happens, you'll be able to proc this off of overheals. And so with these 3 sets in mind, that being the Stonetalker's Oath from Rock Grove, as well as Kynes Aegis, Perfected Kynes Wind, as well as Frostvault's Mighty Glacier, that's going to help your team stay tanky as well as getting recoveries, and then everybody still gets to participate in this brand new subclassing where everybody gets to optimize and really bury the needle in being a tank or a healer or a DPS without having to kind of have a loss in recoveries. This is going to help everybody basically keep everything in line that they need to for a trial. So those are just a couple of suggestions and kind of ideas that I have brewing before the update gets applied for something that is going to be different about builds. That's one thing I don't think a lot of people are considering when they're just sitting there parsing. It's a lot different when you're in an actual trial or a dungeon. When you lose out on the passives from these, you get some things taken away from your build that you might not be focusing on because you've got rose-colored glasses about all the damage you're gaining. Well, if you run out of gas, you're not going to drive the car anywhere. So keep in mind these two things, they do have value on your build right now. And when you take these away, you gotta get that stuff somewhere. So these sets are kind of what I'm trying to look at to keep everything going, and then still optimize with the subclassing and make sure everything goes well with that. But those are my ideas that I've got so far. If I come up with anything else, I'll cover that in another video. But thank you for watching. If you thought this was helpful, please check out my channel for the other videos I have. I have several folders set up for various different things for the game that I feel are helpful, that I learned the hard way without anybody kind of showing me. I just kind of learned it by playing the game. So please check those out if you liked this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you for watching.